on what you were thinking earlier. You'll have to
Oh,
tell me.
okay.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I will.
I'm
I'll
sure
tell
it
you
was
later.
terrible, but
Did you click it yet?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep, we're
Okay.
good.
So welcome back to another episode of Wisco Fanatics. Friday night. I thought we were gonna have a full house this week, but apparently Simon still likes his Simon. Sorry about that. I see
You
Simon.
always do that?
I see Simon. Bryant
You guys
likes
look
his
alike,
family.
though.
Bryant likes his family more than he likes us, and that is a terrible mistake.
How dare he?
He's fired for that, actually.
He's definitely fired for that. So
Yeah.
we have our final installment of the draft series, the final player evaluation. This one is edge and defensive line, so this one is sure to be good. I don't care which one we start with. I'm going to let the hostess with the mostest choose where we start.
You just call me a hostess? What the fuck?
We also... It rhymed.
You are drinking Bud Light, so.
Dude, you guys see all those videos?
I legit don't drink beer. Like, I just don't.
I don't drink
never
beer
acquired the taste for it.
I love beer.
Did you guys see
shows
all the videos that dudes were doing with the girl filters?
Yeah, I saw it. Oh, yeah.
I thought that was
talk about slippery.
Talking about the Snapchat? The Snapchat shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the dudes will pick up a beer, like a Bud Light. They'll start drinking it, and they'll turn the camera towards them, and it turns them into a girl using a Snapchat filter.
I was like, okay, that's clever.
That's funny, but that's terrible.
It's terrible, but it is funny. But anyways, we have a special announcement to give, and I'm gonna leave it up to Tyler to give that special announcement when he is ready.
So, Jake and I today, we met with a couple of ladies from Mental Health America, the Lakeshore. Mental Health America Lakeshore, that's what they're called. And Jake and I decided, we've kind of took it upon ourselves that we wanted to donate to a mental health related cause for every game that the Milwaukee Bucks win in the playoffs and for every series that they win in 6 games. So we're going to stick with the Bucks in 6 culture, and we want to do $10 for every game the Bucks win and every series they win in 6 games. So if they win all 4 series, they win the championship, and they win all 4 series in 6 games, then we're going to donate $200. And what this is going to do is it's going to be the beginning of a youth scholarship fund. So we're making these donations to Mental Health America, and it's going to go towards a scholarship for an aspiring high schooler who's going into college that is interested in focusing on sports and mental health, just like Jake and I are. And this is the beginning of what we hope is going to be a long and meaningful partnership between the Wisco Fanatics show and Mental Health America. It's been about 2 years since Jake and I took the approach that we wanted to focus on doing our sports analysis from an optimistic and a positive standpoint. And we are now at a point where using our Facebook Reels that we can start taking some of that money, we can start putting it towards the causes that we believe are important and that we say that we think are important to us. So we've decided that we're going to basically prove that we are about what we say we're about. And this is the start of that. And we're hopefully going to be working with Mental Health America Lakeshore a lot in the future, be it across the summer. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Jake and I are working on planning a lot of content for that month. And then June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're really going to be focusing a lot on putting out good mental health content through May and June, in addition to just the normal analysis that we do from the standpoints that we do it from. So very excited to be working with Mental Health America. They're really nice ladies to talk with us and share ideas and get some creative juices flowing. And we're excited that this is going to start by having a scholarship with the Wisco Fanatics and Mental Health America name tied to it. It's really cool that when Jake and I started this, we were just doing it to talk about Wisconsin sports, and now we're starting a scholarship. So I mean,
Do you remember our first couple episodes, man?
When they were like 26 minutes long and we only talked
Jesus.
about a couple things, and now we got
Jesus.
structure and recurring guests that we've brought into the fold on Friday nights.
Man, just the journey, like if I can appreciate this for one moment, the journey of this show just in this little short amount of time, like I feel like I've made a lifelong friend in Simon, even though I call him Bryant every week.
Do I do the same thing though to you guys?
I know.
I'm offended.
Dude, but I think about so many things throughout the day. And remembering a name is just like one of the little things. I'm gonna get your name right eventually. It's one of those up there, I
All
promise.
good. I'll do the same thing.
But and we got comments from all around the world, and now that meeting today when I walked out of there and I was talking to Tyler and and I said goodbye to him and I finally got my car and I kind of sat there for a second. I was just kind of like, oh my God, dude, like it's all kind of coming together, man. This is kind of surreal to me. And we got another meeting on Monday that we're excited about. So I mean, sorry.
More details. We have a meeting on Monday.
No details. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's just like, yeah, it's crazy, man. My life is spinning.
It's cool. Like I said, it's cool to see where we started and what we're doing now in what feels like a really short amount of time.
Yeah, it really does. Like time flies, man. That's all I gotta say.
All right. So now we can get into our regularly scheduled content for today. We've been calling it the Edge and Defensive Line Show. So with that, we're going to start with Edge. Jake, you got to pick first, and then Bryant, and then Simon, and then myself. So that is the order we are going to go in to reveal our rankings. So Jake, we are going to start with you. Who is your number one Edge player?
Will Anderson Jr. There was nobody else that was going to be number one.
I feel like 2 through 10 is going to get super murky, but number one, I think we're all going to have a consensus. Bryant also has Will Anderson. Simon, you as well?
Were you guys at least close in putting Tyree Wilson?
No.
I feel like I jumped the gun a little bit, but
I really like Tyree Wilson.
To me. I think it was kind of close to me.
I don't.
No.
I mean,
I'm not going to lie.
Just a me thing.
I don't really respect Big 12 defense as much as I do SEC defense. And I understand that it's like it's a thing and it shouldn't really be a thing and I should just be, evaluating them per player, but like I can't ignore that. You know what I mean?
Big 12
I like Tyree Wilson.
Offensive lineman though.
Yeah.
I'll give you a spoiler alert. I have number 3.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh, I know.
Right, well, I have Will Anderson number 1 as well.
Okay. Steve's got his popcorn ready to go to watch today. My number 1 is also Will Anderson, so we do have him across the board. Jake, who is your number 2?
Tyree Wilson.
All right. Bryant's number 2. Gotta keep his pulled up. Bryant has Miles Murphy, number 2.
See, this is where it's gonna get murky. Me and Simon were just talking about this.
It's gonna get murky.
And just talking about this.
I'm super annoyed with my rankings, and it is what it is because it was so hard to put these in order. But Simon, who is your number 2?
Tyree Wilson.
Okay. My number 2 is Lucas Van Ness. I have him number 2.
Damn.
You have my boy that high?
I have him number 2.
Okay, I see you.
Jake, who's your number 3?
Nolan Smith, the speedster.
This is so weird. None of our rankings are going to be. This is going to be the hardest consensus position to do.
It is.
Guaranteed.
It's going to be all over the place.
It is. It's going to be like 1, 6, 9, 6, and then it's going to be 2, 6, 9, 13. It's going to be a clusterfuck. Edge rusher is a clusterfuck position. I don't even care to say it. Number 3 is where Bryant has Tyree Wilson. That is his first pick of players that he chose to elaborate on. So for Tyree Wilson, this is what Bryant has. He says he's a high motor player with a massive frame and wingspan that will allow him to keep blockers off of him and knock down passes when he doesn't reach the quarterback. Effective for slap and swim pass rush techniques, creates a lot of push into the pocket that will put the quarterback under pressure. Although his 40 time wasn't explosive, he plays explosive, and his long strides will make up for the lack of straight speed. He has surprising bend and angles as well for his size, allowing him to get around defenders. He diagnoses run plays quickly and brings down the ball carrier with his length. He will need to fine-tune his pass rushing skills because his pure size won't be as much of an advantage against all NFL players. He needs to improve his quickness off the snap. He has all the tools to be a monster, just needs to put them together. And I think that's a very fair evaluation of Tyree Wilson. That is who I also have number 3. Simon, who is your number 3?
Miles Murphy.
Okay. Now that is your first guy, correct?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so Miles Murphy, 6'5", 258, showed great flashes of power, although pretty inconsistently. He could take a couple years to develop and come onto his own, similar to Rashawn Gary. Has enough power and speed to bowl over the best of linemen, and he has a mean spin move. I mean, his spin move's nasty. Did you guys watch him a lot?
I didn't watch a lot of them. I watched some of them though. Yes.
You should watch his spin moves. They're nasty. He's pretty
raw.
raw.
Murphy.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish because there's a different type of move that he does that really impressed me. Steve said when in doubt with edge, bet on traits. Wilson has them, and then he said Murphy's compared to Rashawn Gary. But go ahead, Simon. Continue.
Yep. So he just, like you said, he's a pretty raw guy. Has to develop more pass rush skills, and he has some problems coming off of blocks at times. He's going to go in the first round. I think that's a no-brainer.
I can see he's 6'5", 268. Like, that's massive.
It's a big guy.
For me, the move that he has that impressed me is he has a one-arm rush.
Like the
so he basically does this thing where he puts one arm into the chest of an offensive lineman. It makes it harder for what?
Like a stab move. Okay.
It makes it harder for offensive linemen to get leverage on him. It also increases his length, so basically increases his arm length because he's reaching with one arm instead of reaching straight ahead with two. It lets him use his other arm. Then when the offensive lineman is having their two hands out, he can take his off arm and swat those arms down, and then he bends around the offensive lineman to create an edge rush. So for me, it was the one arm, long arm. Steve said long arm rush. That was the noticeable play for me. If he gains, say, 20 pounds and works on some kind of inside counter move, then I agree with Simon that he'd be a no-brainer first rounder. For me, I'm thinking probably early second is where I'm leaning with him.
I'm good with either.
All right. Jake, who is your number 4?
Lucas Van Ness, baby. That's the boy.
All right, that's your guy.
15, boy. I'm telling you, him on the opposite side of Rashawn Gary in a few years is going to be magical because I think he still is a little raw as a pass rusher. He is a super, super strong, like just straight up raw power from this guy. Like he looks like a guy that plays at Iowa. And he's also Thor when you take his pads off because he's fucking ripped, first of all.
Yeah.
36 tackles, 31 hurries, 11 tackles for loss, back-to-back 7-sack seasons. So he's got the production. He had 2 blocked punts this past season, both in the same game against Iowa State. Like I said before, he's a limited pass rusher, but goddamn, he could bull rush. The one thing that I really, really love about Lucas Van Ness, which is why I want him so freaking bad, he can rush standing up, or he has his hand in the ground a lot over a guard. And when you said that before about Simon's guy there, Murphy, you were like, if he has an inside counter move, I'm like, bro, did you watch Lucas, dude? He can rush inside, he can rush outside, he can stop the run. He's just a tough son of a bitch. And when he gets to the NFL and he learns some of those pass rush moves, and you were talking about how big Murphy is, Lucas Van Ness is 6'5", 270, bro, and he could put on a couple more pounds. He has the frame for it. So you put this guy on the Green Bay Packers opposite of Rashawn Gary, I think the next 7-8 years are going to be really nice for that rush defense.
So as it stands now, Lucas Van Ness is a 935 RAS, so very high, one of the highest in the class. 4.58 40 time for a guy who's 272 pounds.
That's yep.
And I'm glad that you brought up that he plays with his hand in the ground sometimes, because this is the reason I have him so high. Now, I'm not saying that he is this player, but his play style reminds me of J.J. Watt.
Oh. A standing up JJ. Dude, if he puts on 20 pounds, he'd be legitimately JJ Watt.
That's how I feel. If you bulk him up to be a hand in the ground defensive end, I feel like his play style is similar to J.J. Watt. That's how I feel from watching his tape. Like, I feel like this guy plays how J.J. Watt played.
He does have a high motor. He's a very high motor player, and that's one thing. That's one of the first things you notice about J.J. Watt, right? So I agree with that.
The third thing that I have written down about Lucas Van Ness is that he's relentless, not giving up on plays.
Yeah, man. He had one play against Ohio State where he literally got tripped up by the offensive guard. He stands up and still traces down the future number 1 overall pick, C.J. Stroud, and gets a big-time sack in that game when Iowa was making a comeback. Yeah. So, momentum player, all-out high motor guy, and great size and speed combination. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Justin Smith, the guy from the 49ers a while back. I think Justin Smith was a little bit bigger. He played end for them out of Missouri, I think.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm
not sure where he went to college.
Yeah,
I think it was Missouri, but he kind of reminds me of him.
I believe you.
I believe you too.
I believe you.
Maybe for my downfall, but it is what it is. Jake, do you have an answer for Steve's question why he didn't start at Iowa? I think part of it was kind of that he was kind of like a tweener guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's like a tweener guy, and he has pretty good bend. He doesn't play straight up. He has pretty good bend. I don't think he has the best in this. The guy that I think has the best bend is actually a couple lower on my list. He's actually my second guy. He's an impressive guy in my opinion. But Lucas Van Ness he's really got a great bull rush in my opinion. But
does it have something to do with starting older players over him too?
Yeah, he is coming out as a sophomore. He's only 21 years old. So
yeah, he's a young guy.
He's still super young, which is one of the other reasons that I really want Lucas Van Ness, because he's young and he's raw, and we saw the project that we had in Rashawn Gary and what he's turned into. And if you look at, in a couple of years, Gary's going to be even better than he is. And if we can get Lucas Van Ness to even close to what Rashawn Gary is now, think of how elite that is. And they'll both be in their prime. I don't remember the last time we had 2 good defensive ends or outside linebackers. I mean, the Smith bros, you could say, but Zadarius Smith didn't freaking defend the run. Yeah, or stay healthy. And Egbare too. I mean, I want to add depth to the edge. That's one big thing.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to talk about his comment, fans want offense in Green Bay. And I do as well. I would not be mad if we drafted offense, but I think defense for the first round again, people will probably bitch and complain.
People are going to bitch and complain no matter what.
That's exactly true.
I was going to say that. And then second, third, fourth, go offense then. I don't care. Go offense after that.
We've talked about it. There's so much value in the second to fifth rounds that it makes me feel, and this might be a hot take, but if I'm the Packers, I'm willing to trade out of the first round.
I want you to tell your whole opinion on this. I'm ready.
If I'm the Packers, I'm willing to trade back into the late 20s and basically have a situation where you have more bites at the apple. You have more chances to pick players, because I believe there's so much value in those second to fourth, fifth rounds that, the difference between 28 and 58 versus 15 and 28 is not that big of a difference. And you get a chance to pick up an extra pick for as well. So seriously, I would be willing to trade completely out of the first round, or to trade back and get an extra pick in the second to fourth rounds. That's really where I'm at. Doesn't help that the first round, after the first, 10 picks, this draft is going to be nuts. Like, I have no idea.
Unpredictable, for sure.
Exactly. Unpredictable. Like, when we do mock drafts next week, I've had a couple people ask us if we can do a 1 through 32 or a 1 through 31 this year. Miami doesn't get a first rounder. 1 through 32 mock draft to pick all the teams, just to see what we can kind of come up with how the first round is going to go, because I feel like it's going to be just bedlam, absolute bedlam in the first round. It's going to be nuts.
Dude, every mock I do, it's different.
Yep.
Every mock is different, man. Like JSN's going as high as number 8 and then as low as like number 19. And I'm like, what kind of value is that, dude? Nobody knows where this guy's going, you know?
So that I was watching NFL Network and they were doing like high lows on some of the top players, and they were all over the fucking place.
Were they?
Like, yeah, someone had JSN go as low as like 23 to the Giants or whatever pick they are. I was like, after 10 is gonna be weird. It's gonna be a wild time. There's gonna be players that are gonna fall that you don't think were gonna fall.
Right. Like the more time goes by, the more I think that Quentin Johnson could make it to 15. 3 weeks ago, I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick.
I wouldn't be surprised if he almost fell out of the first round.
It's the way people are talking. Crazy this has gotten.
With the way people are talking,
passing league, which is true, and it could be somebody in the 20s. Like if he makes it to the Patriots pick in the early 20s, like I don't see the Patriots letting him pass that.
I think it'll be interesting to see where the wide receivers go.
It's going to be super interesting. And I'm really excited to see how high Zay Flowers goes because he rose right after, like 2 weeks after I put him at my number 2 wide receiver in the class. And now he's rocketing up the boards and he got invited to the draft. So that'll be fun to see. But, with us doing all these, rankings, we've gone through so many players. We're talking probably damn near 200 players that we've gone through over the last 5 weeks, including today. So we can get back to Bryant's number 4, who has Lucas Van Ness, just like Jake does. But yeah, it's gonna be nuts to see where guys go, and that's why we dedicated an entire show next Friday to nothing but mock drafts. Steve said Flowers is Waddle 2.0. I like it. I would love.
Think he's that fast, bro?
He's pretty fast.
He's pretty fast.
Oh, dude,
I like it. I like the comparison.
Jalen Waddle is so fast, he makes fast people look not fast. That's what kind of fast Jalen Waddle is.
Christian Watson is that kind of fast, too.
Yeah, that is true.
Christian Watson's so fast, it looks like he's running slow.
Dude.
Bro, when I messaged you, did you guys see that message the other day?
Yes,
they
you
had
did. Yep,
the Green Bay versus Dallas game on. And, dude, Watson, running looks so slow.
It's like
how tall he is and his strides are so big. But you can, he's a fast motherfucker.
You ever be on the highway and there's a car next to you, but the car is driving 70 miles an hour, so it looks like the rims are just stationary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's Christian Watson's running. It looks like he's just doing a casual jog, but then you see that he's gaining distance between him and the nearest defender.
Dude, I'm telling you. I said it on the show. When I was watching that Dallas defender run and he was pumping his arms, I knew he was fighting for his life because Christian Watson was making him look slow as shit, bro. He was running. He was like, don't run past me.
All right. Simon, who is your number 4 edge?
I have Nolan Smith.
Oh, that's your other guy. So a lot of my guys on the number 4. So, Simon, go ahead.
All right, so obviously undersized edge rusher, incredible speed. What do you run? A 4.39?
4.39,
yeah. Just disgusting speed. So he has lightning speed coming off the edge, plays really well in the run game despite his size. His bend and dip are both elite. Plays extremely physical, very good in zone coverage, and has very impressive change of direction skills. His small stature might limit him against some of the elite bigger players in the NFL. And he isn't going to be a guy that's going to help collapse the pocket. And he has some injury concerns the last couple of years. He kind of reminds me of Hassan Reddick, because I think Hassan Reddick's 6'1", 240. Mm-hmm. He's had a 16 sack season.
That is a great comparison.
I've seen that one as well. You want a couple more stats to go with Nolan Smith?
Yeah, hit me.
924 RAS, so over 9. He also had the number 2 pass rush win rate in college football at 28%.
Damn.
28%?
28%. 4%.
That's disgusting. That's insane.
Yeah.
Jesus.
For the Wisconsin fans out there, Nick Herbig had the number 4 at 23.9%.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Yeah. My number 4 is Will McDonald. That's the first of my 2 guys. So with Will McDonald, he has crazy long arms. He uses that to his advantage. So he's the guy that I think has the best bend in the class at edge. He's great at turning the corner against tackles. Steve asked if Nolan Smith also has a good run grade. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. Will McDonald also has a capable spin move as a counter move. He was used as a defensive end, but at 6'3", 241, I feel like he should be used more as an outside linebacker. He is viewed as a strong 3-4 outside linebacker to translate to the NFL. So that's where I view him using as the Packers. But with him being able to bend around tackles and having his long arms that he's got, I feel like he could be like a strip sack just monster. Because he's a guy who can just get around the edge of the tackles and just start swatting like King Kong on the top of the Empire State Building. And then bonus, Will McDonald is also from Wisconsin. So
All right, I'm on board.
Love to keep him in Wisconsin.
I'm on board. That Wisconsin-Iowa State connection, huh?
Apparently that's a thing.
It is.
No, I cheated in my rankings twice, and the first time I cheated is on Keon White, who is my second guy. Now this is outside of my top 10. I have 2 players outside of my top 10 who would still be ranked in the top 10. So for Keon White, I have him listed as 3 to 6. So I still have a 3, 4, 5, 6, but anywhere you want to put Keon White between 3 and 6, I'm fine with. But I just had such a hard time trying to pick where I wanted to put guys, and I wanted guys in my list. So I kind of cheated on Keon White, and the other one is Isaiah Foskey, but I'll get to him in a little bit later. So Keon White is my other guy that I have. He's 6'5", 285, had a position-high 997 RAS score.
Oh, shit.
Damn near perfect. One of the reasons I had a tough time grading him, or ranking him, is because he can kind of be pushed around in the run game a little bit. However, he is a very strong rusher, and he takes the shortest route to the quarterback every time he blitzes. With him, he had 54 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks last season, and he was 15th in college football in pass rush win rate, just under 20%.
Ooh, that's still a high percentage.
So Keon White, I feel like he's a guy, he's 6'5", so he's got a big frame. He's a guy, if he puts on 15, 20, 25 pounds, he's one of those guys that I feel like could move all the way across the defensive line and could potentially work himself into the other side of the rankings, which I have seen other outlets put him as a defensive lineman. But I personally, until he gains those 20, 30 pounds, I still see him as a defensive end. So cheating, I have Keon White as a 3 to 6. And we'll go back to Jake. Who is your number 5?
Hey, hold up really quick.
Oh, go ahead.
To answer Steve's question, he graded extremely well versus the run. It was 84 last year. Or crap, let me pull it up again. I was clicking off of it.
You're good.
Take your time.
Yeah, 83.8.
Simon's got that PFF, bro.
Pull stuff up.
All right, Jake, give me your number 5.
I have your boy Will McDonald as my number 5.
All right. Number 5 is where Bryant has Nolan Smith. Simon, who is your number 5?
BJ Ojulari. Sorry. Ojulari.
We'll get you there.
Just wait till the next list, right, Simon?
Oh, dude, wait till we get to my number 10.
Yep.
Simon put the pronunciation of the guy's name in the chat just so that he could have it to pull up quickly.
Yep, that's on the next group for me.
I'm just gonna
I
call
have
him.
I have a
AA.
different guy, number
Unfortunate
10.
that those
that
are
has
his initials,
Kincaid.
but I'm just gonna call him AA. I don't even care. My number 5. That is where I have Miles Murphy. Jake, who is your number 6?
That's right, my boy Isaiah Foskey.
All right, bring it on.
He has really, really, really good hands. He has a good bull rush, good dip, good rip move. He attacks the football. So you were talking about forced fumbles with Will McDonald, and I was like, dude, this is one of the first things I noticed about Foskey. He attacks the football when he gets to the quarterback. In 2021, he had 6 forced fumbles, and in 2022, he had another forced fumble. So he's a guy that he finds the ball, he's always around the ball, and that's the kind of guys that you want on your defense, right? He could stand up or do a 3-point stance. He's another one of those guys that could do both of those things. He creates havoc off the edge, man. He does not move. He moves you. That's how that works. He has back-to-back 11 sack seasons. In college, that's pretty damn good, especially at Notre Dame. And one thing that I kind of found impressive, and then I looked up their pass rushers, and I was like, I don't know a lot of these people. He's the Notre Dame all-time sack leader for his career. So I thought that was pretty cool. 26 and a half. I believe he was on top of Justin Tuck, if I remember correctly, by like a sack and a half. But, yeah, I just think that I don't know if he'll ever be a star, but I know that he'll be a really, really good depth piece, in my opinion.
So, a couple of things. I have Isaiah Foskey is the other guy that I cheated on. I have him 6 to 8. So aside from my 6, 7, 8, Foskey, anywhere you want to put him in there, if you want to put him at 6.5, go ahead. 959 RAS for Foskey and a 4.58 40.
Yeah.
For a dude that's 264 pounds, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So Bryant's number 6 is Derek Hall. That's his second guy. So Derek Hall, 6'3", 254 pounds. He ran a 4.55 40. So very good there. He's explosive and long, plays in an aggressive manner, and will push offensive tackles backwards to create early pocket pressure. He plays with good burst when pursuing the ball carrier, and is a freight train to the quarterback once he gets a clear path. He has long arms for his height, which helps him create leverage and an explosive first step. He's very good at rotating through his pass rushing sets to keep offensive tackles guessing. He has high football character and was a team captain. He can play a little lazy when it comes to run defense, so he needs to play with some intensity throughout the game and not a player you want to drop into coverage. If he lives up to the comparison by NFL.com to Carl Lawson, he would be a steal in the 3rd round. Unless drafted by the Packers in the 3rd round, then he's destined to fail. Straight from Bryant's notes.
Dude, you should have read the other part of his notes.
If he wouldn't have misspelled like 4 other things in there, I would have considered it.
It's okay. He wouldn't have read that either. No balls.
Wait, let me pull out.
Derek
I'll
Hall
read
was
it.
first team All SEC, so Derek Hall does make my list, but not quite yet.
Yes.
Simon, who is your number 6?
I already said it.
Okay. My number 6 is Nolan Smith. Jake, who is your number 7?
That's where I have Keenan White.
All right.
I just read it.
Number 7 is where Bryant has Will McDonald. Simon, who's your number 7 whenever you're done geeking out over there?
Will
Bryant's
McDonald.
trying to get us canceled.
It's not what I expected to read.
That's his only goal at this point, it seems like.
Yeah. Just pushing the envelope. Bryant is like the Daniel Tosh of this show. He's going to get us canceled. He's going to say increasingly more lewd things and just get our show canceled right when we're starting to work with a mental health organization. They're going to be like, yeah, you just said that. Yeah, we're out. Number 7, that's where I have Derek Hall. Jake, who is your number 8?
That's where I have Derek Hall, number 8.
Okay. Number 8, that's where Bryant has Keon White. Simon, who's your number 8?
Aditamu Adibare. Did I do good?
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's a good job. Number 8 is where I have BJ Ojolari. I do really like him, actually. I was tempted to move off of Keon White and pick BJ Ojolari just because he's got a great motor. He has a great swim move. He's got a foundation that he can learn other pass rush moves. He's solid in the run game for a guy with his pass rush prowess. He's elite at changing his pad level. So he can dip, he can go, and he can counter. He's really good at changing his pad level. This is something I noticed with BJ Ojolari. And this isn't my comparison, but during his time and during some of the scouting videos that I watched about him, is that he uses similar pass rush moves to Von Miller.
Oh, hold on.
So BJ Ojolari is probably just going through high school and college, just watching Von Miller highlights and copying his moves, and that's where he learned his pass rush. Now, here's the thing with BJ Ojolari that makes me want to draft him. He's only 20.
Oh, shit.
So he's coming into the NFL very young. Steve said his brother undoubtedly helps too. Yes, his brother Aziz Ojolari is also in the NFL. Yeah, definitely worth maybe a third rounder.
We're just trying to end that third round curse.
I mean, whatever.
I
It is what
so
it is.
bad.
We'll hit on one eventually, and then somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, finally."
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, he just turned 21. Just.
Oh, so he
Last
just
week.
had his first beer, I'm sure. Then,
Yeah.
yeah, just now for the first time.
Surely. Surely.
All right. Back on track, Jake. Who is your number 9?
Drew Sanders, my number 9.
All right. I didn't know what to do with Drew Sanders, and honestly, I wasn't impressed, so I didn't feel the need to put him in edge or linebackers.
He's okay at both, so I feel like he had to make one of my lists. I think he's better at edge, in my opinion.
I think I put him at linebacker.
I think you and Bryant did.
Yeah.
I had him with my linebacker notes, but like, I don't know, like for him to be a bad tackler, like I'm already just, I'm just gonna leave him out.
Yeah.
You can learn how to tackle though. You can be taught.
So you
wrap
your arms around
you should learn how to tackle, and it's in middle school.
Yeah, well, I mean, we think that Jair Alexander's a great tackler, right? And every once in a while, he just does a shoulder. And
I hate that shit, man. That pisses me off. So
it pisses everybody off, but that's what I'm saying. Like you can correct those kind of things. In my opinion.
Steve, I don't know why people compare Drew Sanders to Micah Parsons. The only reason I can think of it is because he's athletic.
Because he plays inside and outside. That's the literal only reason why.
Quay Walker can do that, so we don't need Drew Sanders.
True.
And because I said that, we're going to draft him.
And then we can have 2 people that can do it. So what's wrong with that?
All right. I mean, if he pans out, I'm totally fine with
I
wasn't high on him, but he's a stud now.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it.
He's the third rounder.
Yeah. If a guy that I don't like breaks the third round stigma, I'm totally down.
Me too.
Number 9 is where Bryant has BJ Ojolari. Simon, who is your number 9?
Isaiah Foskey.
Okay. Jake, who's your number? Sorry, my number 9. I practiced this one. Felix Anudike Uzama.
Yeah.
After the first 3 times that I wrote his name, after gathering sources, I just started abbreviating him as FAU. And now when I see that, I'm like, Florida Atlantic University. What?
They had a good run.
I've been abbreviating him as FAU, but he was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So Jake said he doesn't put stock in the Big 12. Even if you don't, he's still the best out of all of them. But aside from the other things that I have with him, he was a finalist for the Lot Impact Trophy. Now that impact is in all caps, and what it stands for is integrity, maturity, performance, academics, community, and shoot, I cannot read my own writing, and I forgot what the T stands for. That's gonna bother me. Wow.
Sometimes you
Anyway,
have to write so small in your notebook, dude.
well, it's on my tablet, and I wrote it super small. I'm just gonna look him up and see if I can find it. But for him to be a finalist for that award, that to me is the kind of guy that you want on your team.
High character.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
a high character guy. So I wanted to point that out with him. He did also have an 874 RAS score. The T stands for tenacity.
Oh.
So it's integrity, maturity, performance, academics, community, and tenacity. And he was a finalist for that award. So FAU, my number 9. Jake, who is your number 10?
I had to be Homer, so Nick Herbig.
All right.
I had to. Couldn't leave him out of the top
Yeah.
10. It was. I'll be honest. It was between him and Andre Carter, and I actually like Andre Carter as a prospect. I think he's a really good athlete. But I was like, taking my boy, dude, Nick Herbig. Let's go.
Nick Herbig, he did meet with the Packers. What I think is going to be the case, and I hope it works out for the Packers this way, is I think it's possible that Nick Herbig goes the Jack Sanborn route and goes undrafted. And if the Packers can grab him, like right after the draft, like as soon as Mr. Irrelevant is announced, like Nick Herbig, you're a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah,
like, I'm on board for that.
I'm on board for that too.
Okay. Simon, who is your number 10?
Felix Stanudike Uzama.
All right, I like it. Number 10, Bryant has Isaiah Foskey. And number 10 is where I have Adetomoa Adebawore.
You did good. You did good. I mean, I'm gonna absolutely fuck this up when I have to say it.
You have him in your D line?
I do.
Okay.
I think he's more of a 4-3 D end in my opinion.
That's fair. Just a couple of things that stood out to me with him. He's strong and fast. He ran a 4.49 40, which is awesome for a guy who's 282 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah,
to run sub 4.5 at 282 pounds is nuts.
He's only like 6'2".
Uncalled for, in my opinion. Steve said Adebawore. All right, good job. And the other thing that I noticed with him is he beat Cody Mausch a ton at the Senior Bowl. Like damn near every rep that he went against Cody Mausch, like Adebawore beat him.
Yeah.
So that stood out to me. So anything else you guys want to throw out about edge rushers before we move on to defensive linemen?
We need them.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Facts.
I will throw one sleeper name out there to keep an eye on. I don't know that he's going to get drafted, but keep an eye out on the name Jared Verse. Basically like a perfect athlete as far as edge rushers go. Okay. But not a super highly touted player. But just a name to keep an eye on. A name that I'm going to keep an eye on, Jared Verse. So keep an eye out for that. Okay. Let's go to defensive line. All right, Jake, coming back to you. Who is your number 1 defensive lineman?
I have a feeling we're all going to have the same one here as well. And probably. I have Jalen Carter.
As do I. Simon, do you have Jalen Carter number 1?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to pull Bryant's up. I'm sure he's got Jalen Carter number 1. He does. Steve asked, is Gary going to be extended mid-year or before the season?
I think before the season.
I think so too. Maybe like June 2nd when some of the cap stuff changes a little bit. Aaron Rodgers getting traded is probably going to be part of that. When his contract is officially dealt with, whatever it's going to end up being or however it's going to be dealt with. But if we can get the Jets to take his entire contract, like I don't care what we get in return at that point if they're taking his entire contract. But then you extend Rashawn Gary and you front load the deal to save yourself, some space in the coming seasons. Right. So that's my ideal scenario, regardless of what we get in return.
I'm actually on board with that because then you kind of replace Rodgers' cap hit with Gary's, pay him now, and then you feel like you're getting a bargain later when he's fucking getting 17 sacks.
Right. Yeah, and then he's only making $15 million that year instead of 20.
He's making less million than sacks he's getting. Whew, boy.
That would be nuts. But I'm here for it. So get it done. Do Kenny Clark while we're at it.
Yeah, for real.
So let's go to number 2. Jake, who is your number 2 edge rush or defensive lineman? Sorry.
See, this is where we get weird. I have Miles Murphy as a defensive lineman. He's my number 2.
Okay. Simon, who is your number 2?
Kalijah Kancey.
Yeah, that's my guy. I'm excited for him. Number 2, Bryant has Brian Brzee. Number 2 is where I have Kalijah Kancey. That's my first guy. For being 6'1", 281 pounds, he ran a 4.67 40. Just another massive dude that can actually run a little bit. He has a great motor, and when I watched him play, he is constantly getting through the offensive line. Constantly. And I think he's a guy who you could line up at defensive tackle, or you could move him to defensive end, and I think he could be good on the outside as well. So when the Packers kind of move guys up and down the line, I think he's a guy that could fit into that scheme, actually. So I like Kalijah Kancey for that. Steve said Kancey gets the most out of his frame. Absolutely. He seems like a guy who knew he wasn't going to get any taller, and he said, I'm still going to be a beast. And he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year and first-team All-American. And then to go with that, he's very shifty. He's got a great swim move, and he can bull rush. So there's really nothing that Kancey can't do. The only limiting thing is that he's 6'1" instead of 6'5". If he was 6'5", you could arguably put him over Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Kancey's the real deal, and I like that you all have him number 2, Simon. All right, Jake, who's your number 3?
That's where I have
absolutely
probably gonna ruin his name. Brian Brees.
It's Brzee.
Is Brzee? Brzee. These names, man.
The literal pronunciation that I saw was Z.
Okay, that's fair.
Steve said it seems like Green Bay handcuffed Wyatt last year when they turned him loose. Good things happened. Get after the passer. Kancey could be like that. Go hunt QBs. Wyatt, they kind of brought him along slowly because they wanted to make sure he was getting the mental side of the game right before putting him on the field. So that's why they kind of slowed down Wyatt's his playing time in the beginning of the season, was they wanted to get his mental game right before they started putting him in for more snaps. And you could see that he picked it up, and he must have done well because as the games went on, he started playing more and more and more snaps. So I have no worries about Devonte Wyatt stepping into a larger role in 2023. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Yeah. Number 3 is where Bryant has Kalijah Kancey. Simon, who is your number 3?
Brian Brzee.
Okay. Number 3 is where I have Bryant's guy, Mezzie Smith. Jake, who is your number 4?
The man in the middle for the Badgers, Keanu Benton.
I like it. That's your guy. And you got first pick, and I knew who you were taking. You're like, you already know, and I knew. So go ahead. Yeah,
dude, this guy is, and for lack of a better term, he's a fucking gorilla up front, dude. He is a freaking animal up there, dude. Absolute force. He demands that you double team him. If you don't, he's going to hit somebody. He's going to hit somebody really, really hard. In my opinion, he's a better run stopper than he is a pass rusher at this point. But the pass rush potential is there. He has pretty good feet up front. He understands how to hold his ground. I just think about Wyatt, Benton, and Kenny Clark up front, and I'm thinking like, damn, who the hell is getting through that? Because Devonte Wyatt is just oozing with potential, right? Keanu Benton, I feel like he's pretty close to a finished product, and we know Kenny Clark is Kenny Clark, right? So those 3 up front, I think, could absolutely destroy.
So you call him, maybe not the best pass rusher, but I'm going to steal Simon's thunder a little bit. He has an 86 Pro Football Focus pass rush grade.
Oh shit! I think I'm not saying that he's not a pass rusher. I'm just saying that he's a better run stopper than he is a pass rusher. So that might just be, me giving him credit in both areas, in my opinion. Also, one thing that I really like about Keanu Benton, while I wrap this up real quick, he understands gap responsibility.
Yes.
And that is such an underrated thing for defensive linemen, and he gets it. So,
my nickname for Keanu Benton is Baby Kenny. That's what I like to call him.
I'm with it, dude.
He raised his stock dramatically at the Super Bowl. Like, people were like, "Oh shit! Like, who's this dude from Wisconsin?"
Yeah.
I agree with you that he's a guy
really?
that you could move across as well. Steve said, "I think Benton is more dynamic as a pass rusher than he is a run stopper." Hey, let's just take the best of both worlds and let's just say he's good at both. I'm on board for that. So Simon's first guy was Brian Brzee, so I'll let Brian talk about his first guy. Sorry, Simon. Fuck me. Sorry. I have Bryant's notes, so I'm staring at Bryant's stuff, and I keep whatever. I'm fired.
It's all good. We were doing that all last week when it was just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
I didn't know who the fuck we were talking about.
That's why we need this guy's over here. We got 4 sets of rankings.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we screwed it up somehow, but it's all good.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So Brian, yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. Brian Brzee, 6'5", 298. Unique blend of size, flexibility, and burst that can move the line of scrimmage. I think he can play any spot from the 5 technique on in. Occupied double teams pretty well. Does a good job finding the ball and exploding the backfield, disrupt passing and running lanes. He sort of has up and down tape. It feels like he needs a lot more development than you'd like taking him in the first round. Has a room to improve against the run. And it seemed often he would wait for something to happen rather than make the instinctual play.
I agree. Spoiler alert, he's low on my list.
He's just polarizing. Like, at his very best, he's 3 to me. At very worst, I want nothing to do with him.
That's kind of how I feel about Drew Sanders, honestly.
Huh.
So, Simon, who is your number 4?
Mazi Smith.
Okay. I have Keanu Benton at number 4. So, Bryant has Mazi Smith, so that's his first guy. I'm going to answer a couple comments real quick. Greg said, "What's up, gents? You're doing great. We appreciate it, Greg. We appreciate you sharing stuff for us." Greg is a Lions fan, unfortunately, but does come to watch our show. But you can get more than just Packers analysis when we're talking about drafting guys. So Steve said, "Do you guys have fits for Green Bay at edge and defensive line? Like, who complements our edge and defensive line?" Steve, we're going to save that question for when we finish our D-line. We'll come back to that one because that's a good question. So I want to finish our rankings first, and then we will come back to that question. But that is a good question. Steve, bring in the fire questions like he always does.
Also, real quick on Greg, Lions, whatever. I think the unfortunate team that he cheers for is definitely the Dodgers.
That's not unfortunate. That's just uncalled for.
Whatever you want to call it, man.
All right. He said, "Unfortunately, doesn't come close to the misery I've witnessed in my life." Hey, is it awkward that the Buccaneers have won the NFC North more recently than the Detroit Lions have?
Ooh.
Is that awkward for a team from Tampa Bay to have a North title more recently than Detroit?
Yeah, that's eek.
Greg says, "You guys are great," as I'm just putting some salt in the wound real quick.
Just shitting on him. Saying we're great.
Someday we won't be able to make that joke, and then it'll be like, well, we got the mileage out of it while we could.
Yeah.
All right. So to Mazi Smith, a guy, there you go, from Michigan. He said, "Let's talk future, please. Let's do it." 6'3", 323 pounds, but still ran a 4.85 40. For a guy who's 323 pounds, that's impressive. He has a blend of size and speed that is rare, allowing him to control blockers and become a space eater. He has good bend and plays with active feet, allowing him to play with short area quickness. He is seen as a true nose tackle that may not be a threat in the pass game, but can develop into a consistent run stuffer. He does have to become more consistent about double teams and develop moves to create more plays behind the line of scrimmage. The ceiling for Smith is a player like Dontari Poe, which is intriguing, but coaches will need to get him to be a more consistent player for him to reach that level. Now, Steve said that Mazzy is an animal, and that is a perfect description for him because he is number 1 on Bruce Feldman's freak list. So I had that in my notes. He was first team All Big Ten. He is crazy athletic for his size. For a guy that massive to be as athletic as he is, that's why he's up at number 3 for me. So, Jake, who is your number 5?
That's where I have Cansey, who everybody apparently is in love with all of a sudden.
Yeah, you need to get on the Cansey train, apparently.
Yeah, jeez. I was higher on Brees, who you hate, and you love Cansey. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, whatever. We'll find out, I guess, at the draft who gets drafted higher. Number 5 is where Bryant has Adetomawa Adebawore. I'm kind of getting that one down, so I will stick with that. Simon, who is your number 5?
I have Siaki Ika.
Okay, that's your guy, so go ahead, and I will do my number 5 after that.
All right, so Siaki Ika, 6'3", 335. He's just a good old-fashioned nose tackle. He's a big old dude, and that's probably where he'll be put for the most part. Very good at pushing the center back a few yards on literally every snap you watch him. He's just shoving the center back every time. Very good first step, plays with good leverage. Surprisingly good at rushing the passer. Takes pretty good angles to the ball, good feet and agility, and plays well against double teams. Unfortunately, he misses too many tackles and finds himself on the ground a little too much, and he could definitely work on some more pass rush moves and maybe lose a little bit of weight to help him become a little bit more agile.
That's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. Number 5 is where I have Gervin Dexter. That's my second guy. Gervin Dexter is Jervin. It's Jervin, not Gervin. It's spelled with a G, and then they call him Jervin. All right. Anyways, 6'6", 310 pounds, ran a 4.88 40. So huge dude, still pretty fast. That leads to his 921 RAS score. He displays great athleticism to go with his size. This is just ridiculous. I just put this in my notes just because. He had 18 sacks his senior year in high school.
God damn.
That's basically 2 sacks a game. So he can move around the defensive line, which is why I have him so high at number 5, just because I do like the guys that you can do versatility with, basically. We've discussed it, Jake and I, all the time with the Brewers about how important versatility is, and it's becoming more of a thing in the NFL. The more things you can do, the more time you'll see the field. So Gervin Dexter, with him being a guy who is versatile, I do like that about him. What I've seen from assessments of him is that he is seen as an ideal 3-4 run, stop, and block eater. So I do like Gervin Dexter a lot at his size to put him on the offensive line. He's a guy, the defensive line. He's a guy you could put in at nose tackle, and if you want to put Kenny Clark outside at defensive end to maybe take advantage of some younger tackles, or maybe a guy who's filling in for somebody who's injured, and you want to put Kenny Clark out there to give yourself an advantage, you can plug Gervin Dexter in the middle there and let Kenny do his thing on the outside. So Steve said Gervin gets off timed with a sundial, but is crazy athletic. He said he's like Forrest Whitaker in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Oh man, I think his versatility with his size and speed combination is what I like most about him. So we'll go back to Jake. Jake, who is your number 6 defensive lineman?
That's where I have Mazi Smith.
Okay. I like him a lot, actually. I think he might be my answer to Steve's question when we get there. Number 6 is where Bryant has Keanu Benton. Simon, who is your number 6?
Keanu Benton.
Okay. Number 6, that's where I have Brian Brzee.
Oh.
So a little bit lower on him, but not so far to go out of my top 10. But I have him at number 6.
Not crazy. Okay.
Jake, who is your number 7?
This is where, and I feel like I'm calling him a girl name, but Jacqueline Roy from LSU.
What I've seen is that it's Jaquelin.
Jaquelin?
Jaquelin.
Dude, who the hell is that guy? But hey, Ron, doesn't that not sound
right?
like a name?
Yeah.
I was
That's
just
exactly
thinking about
what it
that.
is.
Jaquelin?
Jaquelin. You
Jaquelin.
mean Jacqueline?
That sounds made up, but whatever.
Should be a part of the East-West Shrine Bowl.
Steve's laughing with us, so it's not just us that are apparently very confused when reading that. I'm like, how is this going to turn into a boy's name?
That's what I was thinking, man. I was like, bro, you have the same name as my grandma, but it's cool. My grandma's name is literally Jacqueline.
Okay. Bryant also has him number 7. I also have him number 7.
Thanks,
Simon,
Sean.
if you don't have him number 7, I'm going to drive to Alaska and punch you in the nuts.
We're going to kick over your moose.
I don't
Simon,
have
who's
him
your
in my
number
top 10.
What? That's it? What?
It was close. No.
He's a pretty good player,
Simon's
man.
door,
You can move him
down
around
real
the
quick.
D-line as well, dude. He's
He's
kind of a guy like
your top 10 even.
I
You
have
get
Zach
shuffled around.
Pickens.
He's got great speed. He's a good block shedder.
Yeah.
He has a great first step and quickness. He just seems like a guy who could just wreck the run game once in a while.
Okay, so same with edge. Like, I didn't have, what's his name, Keon White or Derek Hall in my top 10.
That's fair. I'm with that. That's okay.
It's not fair.
I mean,
but
it's
whatever.
guys that are like right outside though. It's not like I'm being absurd. Like
He's
I don't
number
like him at all.
27.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Jake, who's your number 8?
You want to talk about a big guy? How about 6'5", 337-pound Broderick Martin?
Okay.
That
Good
guy
boy.
will eat up some fucking blocks.
Yeah.
He eats
Speaking
a
of
lot
big
stuff.
guys, Bryant and I are on the same page again. We both have Siaki Ika at number 8. Simon, who's your number 8?
Byron Young.
Okay. Jake, who's your number 9?
He's my second guy, Zach Harrison, Ohio State.
All right, go ahead.
So you guys were probably like, who? And
Yep.
why? When I
Didn't
was
make my
picking
top
him.
10.
Didn't make my top 10.
Didn't make my
reason
top 30. Just kidding, I didn't do 30.
He's not even number 27 on your list?
Nope. He went to Ohio State, so that moved him down 3 automatically.
So I was thinking about defensive end, and when I'm thinking about defensive end over the last, I'll say, 8 years, I think about Ohio State. They're definitely on that upper echelon, right? You got the Bosa brothers, Chase Young for recent history, and Zach Harrison is the biggest boomer bust player in this draft, and I've literally seen that on every single website about him, and I 100% agree. He is 6'6", 274 pounds. He ran a 4.40. That is fucking stupid. The problem is the 4.4 speed doesn't show up all the time. His get off is inconsistent, but I'm telling you, man, when he times that snap, he is off like a freaking rocket ship. And that 6'6", 274 takes over with that bull rush. And he's just an athletic freak. When he has the good first step, it's unguardable, dude. He gets off the line so fucking quick when he times that snap. It's ridiculous. He tries to attack the ball, but again, he's just raw. And he made my top 10 because he's just a project, and he's a guy that I would take. And Tyler, you talked about the value in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. He's a guy that falls, in my eyes, in that value pick where you're just like, this guy is a crazy athlete. If we could sharpen these tools, he could be a real asset to us, and that is exactly why Zach Harrison made number 9. I just think he could be so good, dude. He's just a freak athlete, dude.
So number 9 is where Bryant has Zach Pickens. That's his second guy. Zach Pickens, 6'4", 291, 4'8", 40. This is Bryant's notes on Zach Pickens. He's an athletic interior defender who has good gap control and balance. He possesses the quickness and traits to attack upfield and a disruptive first step. He excels as a run defender because he has a strong base and anchor. He has above-average arm length for his size and quick hands. Hands and feet play in sync, allowing him to avoid blockers. He is never out of a play because of his relentless effort. I'm just going to interject here. That's why I've always liked a guy like Jack Heflin. I always wanted to see him make the team. So stuff like that matters. His lack of size can make it hard for him to escape blockers once they get their hands on him. He will also offer as much as a pass rusher. He projects more as a rotational player who can shore up your run defense on early downs. So that's what he has for Zach Pickens. What I've noticed about Zach Pickens, who I'll just give you, he's my number 10, is that he's a guy who lets rushers come to him instead of going to get them. As far as like running backs, quarterbacks go, he waits for them to come to him instead of pursuing them. So I did notice that with him. He doesn't jump off the page athletically, and I don't trust him in like short yardage situations because of those two things. He does, however, have a very good swim move and does seem capable. If you're in like a 3rd and long situation and you want a guy that you can just say, like, just go wreck the offensive line and get some pressure. So I have Zach Pickens in my number 10, but my number 9, I think this guy might end up being my answer to Steve's question, is Moro Ojomo. He has a great bull rush. He stays with plays. He strikes me as a guy who could be almost like a hybrid type guy. Mm-hmm. I think he kind of misses people's lists because he's almost positionless, because he could be in the edge conversation at outside linebacker or defensive end at 6'3", 286, but he was also used as an interior defensive lineman a lot. He actually graded out as Pro Football Focus's 8th interior defensive lineman. So kind of a weird, I don't know. But what I will say, Steve said it too, he's a tweener. Sports Illustrated called him one of the most NFL-ready run defenders in this draft class.
No, we'd take those.
I like stopping the run.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in a few years, but I like it.
So, as a guy who's maybe doesn't quite have a position, maybe you just flip that, look at it as a different opportunity and say, hey, you might not have any one position that you can play. Come here and play 3 positions. And you look at him as a guy who can offer you that positional versatility. So what's up, James? We're talking some defensive linemen. We're almost done. Steve said always value, just watch Dean Lowry. I mean, Dean Lowry, he was never great, but he was solid for a long time. He was just there. He showed up, he played, and he went home. That's what he did. Jake, who's your number 10?
All right, baby. Well, I've been talking to God for a few minutes here because I sure hope I don't fucking embarrass myself.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Okay, hang on. Let me look at it real quick. I'm going to hold it up so I can read it. Here we go.
You got to sound it out a couple times.
Eddie Tomiwa, Eddie Barre.
Hey.
Not bad.
You've done much worse. I can promise you that.
Dude, the anxiety I get when I have to read a fucked up name. I was like, dude, I'm not even putting him on my list because I'm not embarrassing myself. And then I was like, he's pretty good, so he has to be on the list,
It's okay. All right, so that's your number 10. I gave mine already at Zach Pickens. Bryant's is Jervin Dexter. Simon, who's your number 10?
My number 9 was Jervin Dexter, and then number 10. You're good. And then number 10 was Kobe Turner.
Okay. Steve said he gave you a B+ on the pronunciation, Jake. So Steve, you're being generous.
That's higher than any grade I ever got in high school. So I'll take it.
That tracks.
I didn't give a shit, bro.
So I'm gonna go back to Steve's question here, and I wanna bring up one play, and it was Kalijah Cansey. And if you want to see an example of what makes him awesome, watch Kalijah Cansey versus Virginia Tech. He absolutely annihilates a running back and then goes and gets a sack. Just awesome play. Would suggest going to watch it. It's a very fun play to watch. So we're going to go back to Steve's question. Now, Steve asked, do you guys have fits for Green Bay at edge and defensive lineman? So if you had to pick one of each, you can pick from, guys that they can pick anywhere in the draft. Give me one edge and one defensive lineman. Jake, I'm going to put you on the spot first because this is your show to go first. So give you one edge, one defensive lineman that you like their fits in Green Bay.
Well, I already answered the edge. Lucas Van Ness. That's my guy. That's I pick one guy every year who I'm like, this is it. This is my guy. He's my guy this year. Last year, Tyler. No, you remember my guy last year?
Last year.
My one guy who I was in love with.
You're still talking about linebackers?
No. Just in general. One guy who I was in love with in general.
The guy that you were in love with in general last year. I feel like you were a Jameson Williams guy last year.
No, it was George Pickens, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I loved how aggressive he was in the run blocking game. I was like,
yeah,
this guy is a Packer.
I liked Alec Pierce a lot.
You did. And, dude, we could have taken both of them, but we traded off for Watson, so I'm cool.
It's all right. We got Christian Watson, and I was right on that one, so I'm perfectly fine settling for being right about Christian Watson.
Defensive line is tougher. And I feel like this is a cop-out, but I really like Keanu Benton in Green Bay system to play a 3 technique. Packers play a lot of 3 technique with Kenny Clark, and I think that Keanu Benton can be really good at that, especially when we go to our 2-down lineman sets. I think he's good at that in the first place. But I am not opposed to Mr. Smith, Mozzie Smith. I think that he could also be good in Green Bay.
That's a good one. Steve apparently had an answer ready to go for this. He said, I always wonder if you play someone like Nolan Smith alongside Rashawn Gary, good luck. So Gary would run through your face and Nolan would run past you. I'm here for it. I'm with it. Jake, I like your answer of Lucas Van Ness and Keanu Benton or Mozzie Smith. Simon, what 2 guys would you kind of want to pair up?
I will say I like Nolan Smith a lot. I just don't think Green Bay will take him. He doesn't meet their. Okay, I will say nothing's impossible, right? Like if they took Nolan Smith, I would be very surprised.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he did go to Georgia, and it is the first round.
It's the first round. So I would be very surprised based on the thresholds of edge rushers they've drafted in the past. I'm partial to Myles Murphy. I like him a lot. I think he would fit, and he fits the mold of guys they've gone after in the past.
Okay.
For defensive line, fuck you, Jake. I was going to say Mozzie Smith. But I do like Brian Brzee too. I think if you unlock his potential and you get past like some of the stuff that's happened to him, and I think so. For those that are kind of unaware of his situation, and it feels bad, his sister had like brain cancer, and so he like hit a rough patch of injuries and deal with the family problems and stuff. And I feel like if Green Bay drafted him, it would be like the perfect place for him to go as far as like just being kind of out of everyone's way and Green Bay media
like embraced and cared for. I think Green Bay has a culture of that. At least,
so I think that
you're not on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People are like caring in that way. Not saying that other places aren't, but you always kind of see that culture in Green Bay. And I feel like if Green Bay drafted him and took care of that aspect and his physical portion, he could be an extremely good player in our system.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I like the Mozzie Smith. I like that option. Steve wants a twitchy guy, not just bull rush guys.
Yeah.
I really like Elijah Cansey. I think he's the kind of guy you can move across the defensive line. So I really like that. And then an edge guy to pair with him. I'm kind of partial to my guy too, but I really like the idea of Will McDonald. I think he's a guy that could be there. Also, the man whose name we've had so much trouble pronouncing, I think would be a worthwhile pick. And I also would throw in Felix Enrique Ezama in there as well. I think he's another guy who could be, if Elijah Cansey is a defensive lineman you spend early pick on, looking at later picks, you're looking at Felix, and I'm just going to call him AA because it's easy. So you take Cansey early, and you can take FAU or AA later on, and that's where I'm at to maybe get some value and some early round capital. So that's going to be my answers.
The mock drafts next week are going to be fun. we all kind of have like the same concepts with how we match our players, but just different names.
And so next week will be our mock draft episode. So definitely, if you've watched any of our individual positional breakdowns over the last 5 weeks, which it feels like it flew by, that we're already done with all of our positional rankings. And like I said, probably 200 players for each of us. If you've watched any of our positional breakdowns, definitely tune in next week for the mock drafts. We're looking at doing them as teams. You know, Simon and Bryant can do one together. Jake and I can do one together. We can do one with the comments section. We're going to do mock drafts a bunch of different ways. And then Chris is getting ahead of me. The following week, when the draft is, we are going to be live during not only day 1 of the draft like we were last year, we're also going to do day 2, and we're going to do the second and third round as well. So this is going to be our first year doing that. Last year we did just round 1, and that was really fun. So this year we're doing more. This year we're doing round 1, and then we're doing rounds 2 and 3. So we're going to be live during the first 2 days of the draft. And
I'm going to add one thing. Chris, if Bryant misses again next week, you're replacing him on the show. So you better get
You're going to be his stunt double. All right, so just going to close the show out with bringing back our announcement. Jake and I met with Mental Health America today, and we are going to be working with them to make a donation, starting with the Bucks playoff run. $10 for every Milwaukee Bucks win, and $10 for every series that they win in 6 games. So if they win the championship and they win all 4 rounds in 6 games, we're going to be making a $200 donation to Mental Health America. And it's going to be going towards a scholarship for a high school student who is interested in both sports and mental health, like Jake and I have done with our show. So Jake and I working with Mental Health America to start a Wisco Fanatics scholarship. And it's the beginning of hopefully many things that we work with them. So it's cool that Jake and I have gone from a weekly sports show to also doing things that we hope can make a difference for people. So it's very exciting, and we couldn't do it without people watching the show. So Steve, James, Greg, appreciate you watching the show and tuning in. Steve's got 744 comments on just today's show alone. But I mean, guys like Bill and Taylor and Tim commenting on all the shows and giving us reasons to continue building it and doing more. So we're excited to keep doing that and keep doing more. So hopefully it's just the beginning of stuff that we got going on, and we will be back on Wednesday. Jake and I will, and then hopefully all 4 of us back next Friday for some live mock drafts, which is sure to be tons of fun. So make sure to tune in for that, and we will see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
Go Bucks.